Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the February 3rd, 2025 meeting. The council will be looking to go into closed session pursuant to 143, 318.11A3 to consult with the town attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the council, which privilege is hereby acknowledged, and pursuant to 143-318-11 or 11A6 to consider a personnel matter. Do I have a motion by the council to go into closed session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion before we go into closed session? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
I'd like to welcome everybody out to the February 3rd, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to come out of closed session?
So,
Do I have a second?
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does any member of council have a conflict of interest or appearance of a conflict of interest in regards to any item on the agenda? If so, please state at this time.
I do not, Mayor.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right. Moving on, amendment and approval of the draft agenda. Does anybody have anything that needs to be added?
How about subtracted?
Go ahead with that.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
I'd like to remove under old business. Number 5, ordinance amendment, chapter 72, parking regulations, until the March 3rd meeting. Remove it from this meeting, move it to March 3rd.
Mayor,
I need to add one about a gift of a vehicle.
donating a vehicle to a sister city in North Carolina. And Ken will be able to address that. Chief Claymore will be able to.
That will go
address
in under new business,
Yes,
and that will be number 7, and disposition of directives will go to 8.
yes. Thank you.
Good. Anyone have anything else? If not, do I have a motion to approve the draft agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Action, discussion resulting from closed session. There's nothing, no action coming out of closed session. General counsel discussion. Does anyone have anything for this? Before we go any further, I just want to apologize ahead of time in case I get mad and say a bad word. I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm pretty PO'd, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Normally, the Friday following regular town council meetings, which would be this coming Friday, I'm here to answer questions that citizens may have from 10 a.m. until noon or whatever. I cannot, because of a family emergency, I cannot make it this Friday. So unfortunately, I'll see you in a month. But it always stands. All of our phone numbers and email addresses are on the internet. If you have a question, please just ask it, and we'll do our best to respond back to it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go
Yeah,
ahead,
let
Mike.
me, couple things. Number 1, John Corbett and I attended again this past Wednesday a meeting of the Brunswick County Shoreline Protection Committee. For those of you out there who don't know what that is, it's just a committee made up of all the coastal communities in Brunswick County. The goal of these meetings is discuss issues that we have in common. A lot of things to do with things like, and we're talking about the Palm Cove. We reported on Palm Cove dredging. There's a lot of beach renourishment going on, that kind of thing. We talk back and forth, how's it going, any problems, and what that means for the communities involved. We've been doing quite a bit of looking at wind energy. As you know, off the coast of Bald Head Island, there's 2 wind energy fields that are going to be developed, and they're about 22 miles off the coast of Bald Head Island. So we've been very concerned about that, very interested in that, because many of the Brunswick County beach towns, 2 things are very important: tourism and fishing. And how will those wind farms affect both of those is the big question. We had a guest speaker. His name was Dr. Nick, wait a second, I'll get in a minute, Nick DiGeronimo. He's an ocean engineer who's worked all over the world on wind energy, and he made a couple of comments. And his thesis, I guess you could say, was basically there is currently no reason for wind farms to be built or operating anywhere in the world. So you get the idea, he's totally against these things. And he was saying things like 1 nuclear power plant can carry the same load of providing power as 50 square mile wind farm. So he was very much against, and he made his presentation. There were people there from Total Energies, which is one of the wind farms that are going to be developed off the coast of Bold Head. So we've been trying to get as much information as possible. What we did learn is that, and you might have heard this, the new president signed an executive order banning wind farms along the eastern coast of the United States. Now, it's currently unclear to us, and no one really knew at this meeting, if this refers to current projects that are approved and moving forward, or just for new projects. So we don't know that, trying to get clarification on that. And the last piece of news is that North Carolina is going to take a stand on wind farms. It's going to take a stand on wind farms in, let's see, I think that's going to take place in July. They're promising they're going to make a decision in July regarding the future of offshore wind farms. And what it means when the state does something like that, are they going to support it or not? The big thing for us, there's many questions. Wind energy is new. So there's many questions out there, and to have a clear understanding of the positives and negatives, we're trying to get as much information as possible and bring it back to our citizens in the various communities. So you'll hear more about this, but that was the latest. John, did you have anything to add to that?
You covered it well.
Thank you. The second thing is the council has a statement I'd like to read. And it regards a letter received from NCDOT at the end of last week. It's very important that we realize that NCDOT plays a big role in the part of our parking plan, and I'll explain that in a second. But let me read this and listen carefully. I ask you to please listen carefully, those of you listening on YouTube or those who are here. On January 30th, the Town of Sunset Beach Administrator Lisa Anglin received a letter from Ben Hughes, District Engineer, NCDOT, which is the North Carolina Department of Transportation. The letter was in response to verbal as well as written communication that he had received from the town outlining the details of the comprehensive parking plan as it pertains to Main Street. The parking plan was developed by the Sunset Beach Island Parking Committee and passed by Town Council. It is important to understand that the state of North Carolina owns Main Street and is responsible, with the support of our town, for its maintenance as well as the safety of many citizens and visitors who use the street every year. The town partners with NCDOT, for example, in maintenance of the right-of-ways, driveway designation, and installing signs to control parking. So we work with NCDOT on the right-of-ways in Main Street. It is also important to emphasize that all of the other roads used for parking on the island are roads owned by the town and are not under the same jurisdiction of the state of North Carolina. Hence, NCDOT, the letter is only referencing Main Street. The Town of Sunset Beach initially reached out to NCDOT to make them aware of the details of the parking plan for Main Street and to establish a collaborative working relationship through open dialogue. The town welcomes the letter from Mr. Hughes and accepts his invitation to schedule a meeting to explore opportunities for partnership, identify available resources, and refine strategies for improving safety, accessibility, and functionality. That was in quotations. That's right from his letter on Main Street. After the meeting takes place, the town will be in a better position to determine the best way to move forward with the parking plan as it pertains to Main Street. We thank our citizens for their continued interest in making our island streets safer and for their patience as we carry out this comprehensive parking plan. So that's our statement. And whatever happens, we've just got to have this meeting. That's the key to this whole thing. The meeting is the key. We've got to find out where they stand, where we stand, and see if we can work out a compromise. Thank you. Any comments from anybody?
Anyone else? John, you got anything?
No.
I just hope that the next time that a letter comes like this, that I learn about it from our town before I learn about it on social media.
Most of us learned about it on social media
Well, I
before we got it
I
from the
didn't learn
town.
anything about it. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's not a good thing.
I found out about it on social media, Mayor.
Yeah.
That's not good. We just
The letter went out social media before Lisa received her copy.
that ain't good.
Well,
All right.
part of that is
Well,
the
we'll
author of
discuss
the
that.
letter, NCDOT, is the one who sent the letter out. And he sent the letter out to some of our citizens in addition to sending it out to the town.
I still haven't heard anything from the town as of today, though, until I knew about that. I'm sure y'all knew about it way before I did. But anyway, let's move on. Anybody else got anything with council discussion? All right. Looking to open public hearings now. We'll be going public hearing, text amendment, section 335C, the tree protection requirements. Do I have a motion from council to open this public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public meeting is now over. Mr.
Open.
Open.
Would you like to give any comments on this before we open it up for the people to speak? Just a little headway.
Sure. And Ron, how do you want us to handle this? Do you want us to talk about it now or wait till after it comes later in the meeting now? That's when we ask our questions, or do we ask?
Well, it's later. This is a
It
public
comes
hearing.
later. This is the public hearing. Let
Excellent.
him give the overview first.
Excellent.
Go
Great.
ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, what you have before you tonight is text amendment to look at changing our tree preservation or tree requirements on residential properties, for those trees that be removed for residential properties. Specifically, we're looking at exempting residential properties that are 1/2 acre in size, or no, they're not a part of a major or minor subdivision undergoing a mass grading or subject to a specific tree removal condition as part of a conditional zoning district. So what this would mean is, currently, if someone is trying to build a home on their property and there is a regulated or heritage tree on their property, or many regulated or heritage trees on their property, they have to mitigate those trees that are being removed. And this is whether it's in the footprint of the building, the driveway, the stormwater area, wherever it is on the lot. And so if they remove 70 inches of trees, your code requires 70 inches of replacement trees be put back on that residential property. The current code.
Same property.
Yes, same property. That's the current code. So we were working with property owners as they would come get a home permit, and they were having difficulty meeting those mitigation requirements. So that's the genesis, if you will, Mayor, of this particular text amendment, is trying to help those homeowners build a home, but also preserve the integrity of the tree preservation ordinance. So again, the amendment would be to regulated heritage trees removed, replaced on a 1-to-1 basis with an approved tree, that's inches for inches, except when they are removed for the construction of a single-family and two-family residence on platted lots less than 1/2 acre. And those lots cannot be part of a major or minor subdivision undergoing mass grading or subject to a tree removal condition as part of a conditional zoning district. In addition, the amendment would say, for the construction of a single-family home or two-family residence that was not exempt, any tree preserved elsewhere on the lot can be granted towards mitigation credits. We had an extensive conversation with your planning board. Your planning board felt like that would actually help encourage trees preservation wherever. So that was the genesis of that particular part of the amendment. I hope that's clear to
That's good.
everyone.
I just want, not for me, but
Yeah.
for the people out there that does not run it, that's what needs to be explained. The floor is open if anyone has anything in regards to this. Would anyone like to say anything in regards to this? Yes, sir, go ahead. Please state your name and address. You know the rule.
My name is John Farrell. I live at 624 Oyster Bay Drive. As a member of the Environmental Resource Committee, I was confused when I first read this, but after listening to the discussion, I'm encouraged with what the planning board has decided and recommending to be done. The big problem that this county faces is clear cutting lots. And what the changes that you propose to be made allow is for people to build a house, make a driveway, a patio, whatever they need, but it discourages them from clear cutting a lot and removing all the other trees. And that's very important for the environment. So I support it and I encourage the council to approve it.
Thank you, Joey.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? If not, do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on next, planning board, public hearing, text amendment 324A driveway connections. Again, sir, you want to give a little brief overview of this?
Yes,
Or
this,
people that don't know?
yep, this is an amendment to our driveway connection requirements. I believe it was generated from the parking committee. Ms. England is assuring me that's the case. So took it to the planning board and they have recommended approval. So what this would say is that it's basically creating separation requirements for your driveways. In the BR1, BR2, CR1, and BB1 zoning district, single-family dwelling shall have a driveway width not to exceed one driveway width not to exceed 20 continuous feet. A duplex dwelling can have a driveway width not to exceed 20 feet, or two 10-foot wide driveways separated by 20 continuous feet. There are special site considerations that can be individually considered through the process.
All right. Do I have a motion to go into this public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Floor is open if anyone would like to speak in regards to this public hearing.
My name's Christy Batchelor. I reside at 428 27th Street. And I guess just something to consider on this. I know it's part of the UDO and some clarifications were being made to it. But a lot of residences were built, plans were done, plans were approved, certificate of occupancies were given that stated driveways, plans could be made. One of those certain things is the way people park underneath their homes, as well as some of us have gas tanks that were put under our driveways. So coming into the properties can be a challenge. So I know I've read somewhere in all the reading on parking that exceptions can be made through the UDO administrator, which I've heard is you, Miss England. So didn't know if consideration will be given for single family homes, not just multi-purpose homes on that, because some people need to be able to come straight in here and straight in here with an area in the middle where there might be like a gas tank or planters, flower beds, etc. So didn't know if that could be considered to make it also for single family dwellings as well as duplexes, because to me, you're going to have a lot of people with exceptions with that. And our houses were built, they were planned, things were done, lots of money was spent to lay out those driveways, our homes. If we had been told that is the rule that's followed, obviously things would be different, but everything was approved as recently as a year and a half ago. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else in regards to this public hearing? Last call. Do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion from council? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3, public hearing text amendment, section 7.3, definition of height, building structures. Do I have a motion to go in closed session? Sorry. It's been a long day already. Do I have a motion to go in public hearings?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, you want to give a little brief for this one?
Sure.
For the people that don't know.
Be glad to. This item first came up of our November 21st planning board meeting. As we were having conversations regarding the mud height for hotels. We took it to our planning board at its December meeting, and then last month you guys scheduled to move forward with a public hearing on the item. So what it is doing, it is adding a phrase at the end of our definition of building height and building and structure height. This phrase added would be basically to include as an exemption screening apparatus that does not exceed 6 feet in height or the height of the mechanical devices, whichever is less. I need to include and state that mechanical devices are already excluded from your building height requirements. So if your building height is 50 feet in the zoning district or 30 in particular zoning district, then the building is capped at 50 feet. And then on top of that, they can have a mechanical unit for whatever size, whatever's needed, whatever's necessary to run the system for that. You also have in your code standards for urban design standards for 3 of your commercial zoning districts that requires that mechanical unit to be screened by a parapet wall. And so the planning board felt that it was necessary to allow that screening wall to be a height of 6 feet or less, depending on the height of the mechanical structure. So that mechanical unit can be screened. And that parapet wall would be, therefore also be exempt from the height.
Public hearing's now open. Would anyone like to speak in regards to this?
Have one more thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
didn't
no,
know.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That's- I'm
I thought
kind
you
of-
was done when you paused. Go
I
ahead.
thought it was
Go
too.
on,
If I can
Nick.
add something, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to make it clear too that this does not impact the text amendment that was approved for the hotel height. It does not impact that. That is a separate standard for hotel height that this board approved at your last meeting. So if no one's confused, it does not impact that text amendment you approved.
And that was only for the mud district. am I
Only the
correct?
hotel
Yeah.
height only, and it only applies to hotels in the mud district.
Now the floor is open.
Sorry,
for
thank
more
you.
like to
Thank you,
speak.
Mayor. Sorry
I'm
about
sorry. I thought you were done.
I did too.
If anyone would like to speak?
Careful.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Katie Bordeaux. I live at 641 Oyster Bay Drive, Sunset Beach. I want to talk about old business item number 1. Don't want to call out anybody, but Mr. Nern, you stated many times in open session that only affected property owners will pay for dredging.
That's
This is a public
this
hearing.
This is a
That's what
public.
I asked you.
No, it's still a public. That comes up when we get to.
Not
I'm
yet.
sorry. I'm sorry. This is a public hearing in regards. Sorry about that, ma'am. In regards to the height and building, is there anything on it for the height and building? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to close this?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Anything from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Now we finish with this. Everything is done here from public hearings, so all public hearings are closed off. Now we will go to public comments on any agenda items. So, ma'am, you can come back if you'd like. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry, Katie.
No worries at all. I was reading something. Mayor and Council, my name is Katie Bordeaux. I live at 641 Oyster Bay Drive. My item that I'd like to speak about is old business number 1. You all have stated, and Mr. Nern, you've stated more than anybody, that only the affected property owners will have to pay for the dredging. When I looked at the roll, and maybe you all will take this off, but there are a couple properties that the town owns. So if you're going to pay that, that means that is actually coming out of taxpayer money. Didn't know if you knew it was on there, but
Yes.
okay. So the town is going to use taxpayer money to pay for dredging, which is something we were told would not happen.
Thank you. Anyone else in regards to anything on the agenda? You can, yes, ma'am.
They can't hear you on the YouTube. You have to come to the mic,
Come,
ma'am.
yeah, come on up to the mic, ma'am. Go ahead.
The item that was removed regarding.
Name and
parking
address,
in
please.
Christy Batchelor, 428 27th Street, Sunset Beach. The item that was removed regarding parking, can that be discussed at this time or not?
I would think it
little
could, because it
unclear.
was on the agenda to begin with, and people have took their time to come, and they should be able, I'm for allowing you to speak on it, because it was on the agenda, and people took the time, citizens came up here to do that. But, of course, this council can override me on that, but what do y'all think?
I don't mind hearing her speak
Yeah.
on this, but in the proper place on the agenda.
Well, this
Well,
is
it was
for-
proper place, because it was on the
It's been
agenda until they
removed.
made the decision to come in here and y'all
I-
changed it.
Because some of
tonight,
us has been here before 6 o'clock waiting to
Yeah,
come
yeah.
speak.
Yeah, I have no problem. with
No,
it.
Yeah, I think you
they're
should be
here.
able to, because you came, you took the
Yeah.
time to come. So
Thank you very much.
if you want to do that, are you prepared now? If you
I
want to stay up here?
I can be, yeah.
If
Can
you
I
need
just
us-
make one comment before we start this?
Yeah, most definitely.
I mean, part of the thing, most of us received one way or other the letter that Councilman Hargraves explained. And one of the answers with that, until we have the meeting with NCDOT, we really cannot make any definitive decisions or answers for a lot of the concerns that may be out there. But this works good because we will have another meeting next month,
Okay.
and your opinions will be out there. We can
Okay.
consider those.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And I think that's a great plan to have time to process that.
Carry on, but if you will, again, please state your name and address.
Sure.
I've heard you, but just
Sure.
just for the record, for
Sure.
her.
My
being
name's
in this-
Christy Batchelor, 428 27th Street, Sunset Beach. Anyway, my understanding, the goal of the parking committee, or some of the goals, was to distribute parking and island capacity. I'm very concerned about the density and crowding at the center of the island. On 3rd through 29th Street, we have a total of 948 parking spots. That includes, that 948 spots there on the center of the island includes the 126 of the proposed lease lots that are being looked into. We have 94% of the island parking in that particular area. And I have, I've gone around, counted, this includes
You've got 3 minutes. So.
we don't need a lease lot for paid parking at this time. We don't need to add another 126 parking spots. That will cost the taxpayers $500,000 possibly. Please do not go into a lease agreement yet or at this time. Wait and figure out this whole DOT stuff and a plan. As a permanent resident that lives there, as many people are, I've had council say, oh, I wouldn't want to live there, to several different residents in different areas. And we do live there. That's our home. It's our residence. We deal with traffic. We deal with all kind of things you would be shocked that we deal with. But please consider not adding more parking to that area. I've given a spreadsheet. I've got photos. I've got videos. I've got aerial shots. It's very crowded and congested there. The parking, the traffic, the beach, everything. We want people to be able to enjoy the beach. It is not that. But if it was your home, your residence, I have 50 cars often on weekends turning around in my driveway. So I beg you to please consider this as a resident. We are for people coming to the beach on the island. We are not against that, but please don't add even more congestion in that area. And I have other things to say on the DOT. I happened to get the letter because a group of us had sent some emails to ask some questions, had no idea we were going to get that letter. So since letters have came out, we're very interested to see how all that progresses. And we have asked to be shareholders in those meetings at some point with the North Carolina DOT to express our concerns, because it does matter to us. It's our home. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on agenda items tonight?
Mayor Phillips, Council, Tom Weiss, 429 28th Street, Sunset Beach.
Oh.
I find it ironic that tonight we get to hear that letter on the January 30th note. It is because of that letter that I am here tonight to discuss the DOT letter sent to Lisa, the town administrator, dated January 30th. Before reading this, it was my opinion from the results of the January 6th council meeting that the current paid parking plan might be delayed. This is also the opinion of Jim Varner, the owner of Auto Connect, as reported by the Brunswick Beacon on multiple issues of the Brunswick Beacon. I have a document here that kind of ties in with the letter dated January 30th. And I'll show it to you and then I can provide it to you. And I'm going to read verbatim if you do not mind. It is the presentation to council, beach parking proposal, February 2024. And I'm going to read to you sections D, E, E3, and F in verbatim. In December of 2022, Charlie Nern and Mike Hargraves presented to council a request to commence a study on beach parking consisting of 2 phases. Phase 1 required Charlie and Mike gather important background information that would be necessary for an in-depth study of beach parking. E, the caption is Phase 1 was a fact-finding study with 6 goals. E3, meet with DOC officials regarding alternatives for parking on Main Street, which is a state road. F, in February of 2023, Charlie and Mike, and this is the way this is written, reported to council that the fact-finding phase of the study had been completed and requested council approve moving on to phase 2 with the beginning of the formation of the Citizens Committee. So, I'm here tonight to ask you this question. By completing phase 1 as reported by Charlie and Mike in the February 2023 date, what were the recommendations when you met with NCDOT? And are there minutes from this meeting? And who might have attended? The letter from Benjamin Hughes, okay, the district engineer with the NCDOT, brings into question, for me, a total lack of transparency. Therefore, I completely agree with Mr. Hughes that by pursuing a comprehensive parking study, and in my opinion, I might add a travel impact assessment due to all the safety issues we're hearing, the town can develop a long-term parking strategy that balances safety, accessibility, and functionality for this community. And finally, we should take advantage that Mr. Hughes' willingness to schedule a meeting with the town and its stakeholders, to use his terminology, to address the diverse needs of this community. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman, my name is Mark Batchelor. I reside at 428 27th Street, Sunset Beach, North Carolina. In my opinion, beaches are one of the most beautiful things God's ever created, and Sunset Beach is one of the most beautiful ones that I've ever seen. I want as many people as possible to enjoy that beach. But the actions of this council are undermining that. A plain reading of the DOT letter from January 30th prohibits the town from designated parking spots along Main Street. Full stop. I would request that the council stop spending money that the DOT says you can't do things for. There were a number of concerns cited in the letter, safety being the biggest one. Issues with safety on the bike path, safety of sight lines, people coming out of side streets, emergency vehicle access, safety of pedestrians and cyclists. I don't think until the town meets with the DOT and has a professional engineering parking study done that they should consider public or paid parking at all. As for the parking lot on the boulevard, there's been no transparency related to the work going on as far as that and the lease with the gentleman that owns it. I understand business deals need to be kept secret while the negotiations are going on, but council hasn't even shared the outline of where they're coming from on how they're going to do those negotiations. This reeks of a sweetheart deal and smoky backroom politics of the good old boys. Safety is another major concern for the proposed lot on those lease lots. How are the people who park there going to get to the beach? There's no sidewalk on that side of the street. They're going to have to walk through the bike path or walk through the business parking, putting themselves at more risk. There's going to be exasperated parents and excited kids trying to get to the beach. There's no way for them to do so safely on this time on that side. In general, I would ask, how does the current proposed parking plan meet the vision of the parking committee, of which 2 of the council members were members? The vision was to create a plan, quote, taking into account property owners' concerns, distribution of parking, island capacity, and the potential need for paid parking. Let's see how they did. Nowhere in the documents have I found anything that says what the capacity of the island should be. How many people is enough? We are the smallest of the South Brunswick and Barrier Islands by far, and one of the smallest islands inhabited in North Carolina. How many people is enough? Phase 1 also does not discuss the distribution of parking across the island. In fact, as others have noted, it concentrates it on a very narrow corridor coming in on the boulevard. As for taking into account property owner concerns, it has been quite clear and evident from the last couple of meetings that council seems to have little or no regard for our feelings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Okay.
Good evening again. My name is Katie Bordeaux. My address is 641 Oyster Bay Drive. The town has spent a lot of resources in the parking plan, and I appreciate all your efforts. But I want to encourage you to slow down in the name of safety. You all come from professional backgrounds. You all had to adhere to a higher authority standard. This is your time to show us what kind of skills you have. No professional study has ever been completed about the island parking. Please know that while State Department of Transportation may not maintain our town roads, they still have authority over all town roads. They are the DOT. The town of Sunset Beach is part of the Grand Strand Transportation Study Metropolitan Planning Organization. Leave it to the government to have an acronym. We call this an MPO. Please include in your professional study our town administrator, our public safety officers. We have talent here that you could utilize in this study. I encourage you to do that in order to restore public trust. You all are going to have to acknowledge some things. You need to tell us up front what the taxpayers are going to have to pay for. It's been a mismatch. Signage approved one time, then we have upfit of the parking spots, and then the parking lot. We don't know what the lease component is. We don't know what the annual cost is. We don't know what the usage fees, linked to the contract, the maintenance overhead. I mean, what do we get for our investment? Most of these questions can be achieved by a business plan. Again, you need to include the town administrator and our our public safety officials. So just want you to slow down, work with the transportation authorities. If you do this, you might end up with a better customer service product, which I have to tell you you're lacking in right now. And you might just be able to keep us safe. Just want to say this last thing. I keep hearing from fellow citizens that a couple of you all, 3 in fact, are saying the parking plan is going to be your legacy. Please know that a legacy is not a thing you leave behind. Leadership legacies are values that you leave behind, such as being a good public steward of our money, honesty, being ethical, and most importantly, show us how to serve rather than you be served. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Mark Doyle, 202 West Main Street. We've had a family home here for about 50 years now. I've seen a lot of changes. I've heard a lot of great people talk about what's going on, and I'm going to get real specific to my house. What's being suggested at 202 West Main Street, which is 28th Street, is 4 parking spaces on the right-hand dirt road, 4 parking spaces on the left-hand dirt road. All right? Main Street is 18 feet, 6 inches wide. That does not include the bike paths. The dirt road I speak of is 14 feet, 3 inches. That's about from the end of this podium to the leg of that desk. We're talking about putting 4 10-foot spots on this side, 4 10-foot spots on that side. 28th Street, you've heard how much traffic we get there already. You're going to have youngins that don't have doors on these vehicles being excited about coming down to the beach, and they're going to get out of that vehicle and some car's going to come around the corner and hit them. That's what's going to happen, and I hope I'm wrong. But when that happens, those people have to live with that grief the rest of their life. The person that hit them has to live with that. And each one of you guys have got to live with that. Not to say the attorneys that are going to dig up this record and see where somebody came out and spoke about the danger of that, and you guys didn't act, then our whole town's going to be sued. Think about the safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rita Weiss. I live at 429 28th Street. I wasn't going to speak, but I'm just going to add I have emailed. I usually get a response just from one of you, which I think is despicable. I should hear from everyone that I email, and I don't. Number two, you developed a canopy law a couple of years ago, maybe two, I'm not exactly sure, but you have banned canopies between 3rd Street and 29th Street. The reason? Because of the crowds. You don't go to the beach, obviously. We do. It is extremely crowded in those sections. You developed that canopy law. Thank you. It's wonderful. But now you don't need to add more parking between 3rd Street and 29th Street. We have enough as it is already. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Anyone else on agenda item? Go ahead, ma'am.
Hey, I'm Leslie Doyle, 202 West Main Street, Sunset Beach. Like my husband said, my father-in-law built a house here 50 years ago. I've been fortunate to come to Sunset Beach for 38 years. It is my favorite beach. And why, all the citizens here are here to speak about the parking, the extra people, out of concern and love for Sunset Beach. So I looked online. Why do people love Sunset Beach? Clean, expansive beach, laid back small town atmosphere, lack of crowds compared to other beaches, tranquil getaway with small town feel, a quiet non-commercial island, defiance of all the hype that typically surrounds premier beach destinations. That's why we love it. But if we build the parking spots, people will come. And then, at what cost? Will our peaceful small town that provides wide, uncrowded beaches still be able to provide the relaxing vacation that people come for? Just a thought.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Anyone else on agenda items? All right. If not, we'll move on now. Thank you all. We'll move on now to our consent agenda. January the 6th, 2025, first regular meeting minutes. The Public Works Stormwater Department, December 2024 report. Excuse me. The Building Inspections Department, December 2024 report. Code Enforcement / Project Supervisor Department, December 2024 report. Finance Department, December 2024 report. Fire Department, December 2024 report. Police Department, December 2024 report. Does any member of council have anything in regards to any of these items?
Mayor,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
wanted to thank Kim. I had looked at the minutes and given you several suggestions, which you've incorporated them all into the minutes accurately. I appreciate that. Thank you, Kim. Good job again.
Thank you. Anyone else? You got anything
Nothing.
else?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
You ain't sick. All right.
Staying away from you.
I'm dead sick. Now you gonna take it home with you.
Hey.
All right.
That's
Next,
assault.
Be good.
we've got everything here. Do I have a
Got that.
motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any of the staff that is done, you're more than welcome to go home. We appreciate you. Next up, Town Administrator report. Ms. Anglin.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things for you all tonight. The town council will hold their first budget meeting on this Friday at 9 a.m. in this room. They'll be looking at the budget calendar to adopt later during this meeting, and that'll give you a rundown of all the meetings that will be scheduled on this budget. The budget suggestion form is on the town website in the document center in the government section, and we encourage you all to fill out that suggestion form for council consideration. And we encourage you all to either attend the meetings in person or to view the meeting live on YouTube. Meetings live on YouTube. The recent snow event delayed the interviews for the tree board, so we anticipate those interviews to be rescheduled soon, and those appointments will be made at the March meeting. Everything with the dredging project has now been finalized. Later in this meeting, the council will review the final cost breakdown and consider scheduling a public hearing for the special assessment role. The Palm Cove dredging project, the project will now be referred to as the Jinks Creek Realignment Project, which is the name that is titled on the grant. The grant has been executed by myself and the state, and I am in the process of working with staff to develop the RFP for hopefully having it released in the coming weeks. The state is now accepting applications for access to public beach and waterway access grants, and we have applied for those in the past and have been successful at receiving 6, and we will be applying for 3 more for the repair and replacement of the walkways at 5th Street, 7th Street, and 32nd Street. The update on the current projects is the Majestic Oak Park grant with the Department of Coastal Area Management has now been fully executed by myself and the state, and we are able to proceed with phase 1. Later on in this meeting, the council will be considering the task order for our engineering for design, permitting, bidding, and construction services. The parking area reconfiguration and road redesign, which is down at the town park. The notice to proceed has been issued as of today, and construction will hopefully begin this week. While the construction is taking place, as I reminded everybody last month, the park will remain open. However, the actual park parking lot and the immediate roadway parking area might be closed periodically. I am still meeting or offering to meet with anybody from the public on Thursdays from 1 to 3. No appointments needed. That's all I got.
Any member of council have any questions for Ms. Anglin?
I do
Or
not,
any
Mayor.
comments?
Not
Okay.
at this time.
Yep.
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Anglin. Moving on now to the old business. First up is the dredging project special assessment role and scheduling, the public hearing. Go ahead, Ms. Anglin.
Thank you, Mayor. What you have in front of you now is the dredging assessment role. We have completed and verified through the as-built surveys that everybody that is included on this role, the project touched their property in one way or another. The total cost of the dredging project was $7,681,194.15. The assessment amount per property will be $7,710.31. And the grant funds that we received for this project were $5,235,134.18, leaving the remaining funds of $2,446,059.97 to be divided by the 321 parcels benefited property owners. I just need a motion to schedule the public hearing for March 3rd, 2025 at 7 p.m. in this room.
Ms. Anglin, can I have a question
Sure.
for you? Mayor, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
One of the citizens brought up the fact that that there was some town money being used for the dredging program. And I'm noting here that the list shows 321 parcels, individual parcels are being assessed. How many of these parcels is owned by the town?
Two, the Majestic Oak Park property and the Mainland Park property.
Okay. So there are 2 out of the 321 units that are being, we'll call it, absorbed by our general fund.
Correct.
Anybody else don't have any questions? What is the pleasure of this council in regards to this public hearing?
I'll make a motion to approve the public hearing for the dredging project special assessment roll and schedule.
On March the 3rd,
On
2025.
March the 3rd, 2025.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will be adding that on the disposition at the end of the night, y'all. Next up, budget amendment, Powell bill. Lisa, are you gonna handle this?
Mhm.
I haven't seen her. All right, go ahead.
This is for the, hang on, I'm getting my right piece of paper. Sorry. Too many pieces of paper. All right, this budget amendment is for the park area reconfiguration rebuild that we just talked about. You all awarded this contract to Coastline Construction in December, and for a total of $560,289.50. That includes the parking area, which is between the park and Dave's in the right of way. It also includes the portion of the boat ramp and a little piece on Mill Sleuth Lane. This money is coming from the Powell Bill Fund, which is Fund 11. That is restricted funds that we receive from the state that can only be spent on road right-of-ways. We could not use this to build an off-site parking lot. We have $664,636 in that account as of June 30th. We will receive more money from the Powell Bill Fund before the end of this year, but I wasn't able to obtain those figures in the short time I had this afternoon. All we are asking for is a budget amendment of $410,000 because you always budget every year for some type of paving projects or Powell Bill related projects to be funded. So that's why the budget amendment is only $410,000, not the $560,289.50.
Remember, council got any questions for? If not, what's the pleasure of council?
A clarification, and Lisa and I already had a conversation. She was able to clarify it for me, but for the benefit of other council members. What Ms. Anglin educated me on is that this money is coming out of the state money that we get for per mile of roadway that we maintain, and it is not coming out of the general fund or the ad valorem tax rate that the citizens pay, that all of us citizens pay.
What's the pleasure of council in regards to this?
I have a motion.
Go ahead, sir.
I recommend that we move to approve the attached budget amendment from the Powell Bill Fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, capital project ordinance for Majestic Parks. Ms. Anglin.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is for the capital project ordinance for Majestic Oak Park. When we have projects that cross fiscal years, we do that with the mechanism of a capital project ordinance. The capital project ordinance that was created for the Mainland Town Park remained open. So all we are doing today is recognizing the revenues that have been approved from the Part F grant funding of $500,000 and the North Carolina Division of Environmental Quality, Division of Coastal Management grant in the amount of $392,175, and then the town matches for those grants. $594,400 for Part F and $130,725 for the DEQ, for a total of $1,617,300.
I noticed, Ms. Anglin, there was some
Yeah.
adjustment between some of the categories like utilities and contingency and construction management, but they seem to pretty well balance out. It looks like that was fine tuning as like our construction management agreement
Correct.
came in.
Correct.
Okay.
What's the pleasure of this council in regards to this?
All right, I have a motion. I move to approve the attached Majestic Oak Park capital project ordinance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion between council? Go ahead, sir.
How long do you think it'll take for us to finish this and use up what we budgeted?
We have 3 years to construct the park.
So with this, they can go ahead and the engineering company can go ahead and put out the details for the construction? Is that correct?
Once you approve this next item, which is the task order.
With phase
for the-
one? Okay.
Mhm.
Just,
So-
just as a clarification too, Ms. Anglin, it seems to me that we've received the money or are about to receive the money from the DEQ and the state. And so we can spend that money up front.
These are, all grants are reimbursement grants that we receive from Cardiff and CAMA. So we spend the money and then we get reimbursed
Okay, as we spend the money.
as we spend the
Okay,
money.
all right.
Correct.
Thank you.
As did the dredging
Yes.
project.
Yeah.
It was the same.
I have a
way.
motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion?
Nope.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Next up, Majestic Oaks Park Phase 1 task order. Again, Ms. Anglin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is for the design, permitting, bidding, and construction services for Phase 1 of the park, the Majestic Oak Park on the island.
Any questions from council?
In a summary, this is a engineering and project management. Or-
This is the infrastructure will be in Phase 1, stormwater, the all the permitting, the bidding, parking lot. I don't remember the others. Let's see. The environmental.
Right.
We'll go through the Davies Group just like it has been on the Fire Station 2 property. Deal with Brunswick Electric, all the utility plans, the water, the sewer, the erosion, sediment control plan, all that will be included in this first phase.
This is $169,000 roughly.
Yeah.
Task order number 36.
Yes.
And to bootstrap what Councilman Posdel asked, that will be spent in this coming fiscal year or the fiscal year we're in right now.
Where are we? February. Some may or may not. It just depends.
That's why it's in
On how quickly.
a fund that rolls over from year to year that we
Right.
can go through and pay that.
Right, and that's why there's not a budget amendment to move this money into that capital project ordinance at this time, because we don't know that we will spend that money in this fiscal year.
Okay. So you'll come to us as we
Hmm.
need it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
No more questions. What's the pleasure of council in regards to this?
So you're looking for a motion to just approve task order 36, right?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve task order 36.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, now we'll be going to ordinance amendment 9506, metal shovels. Chief Claiborne, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Mayor, this was discussed in our beach wrap-up presentation to remove the ban on metal shovels that's specified currently under 9506. Purpose of this is we want the whole is what we're focusing on, not the device that makes the whole.
Any questions from council?
So basically, we decided having a ban on metal shovels wasn't necessary.
I don't believe so, no,
Yeah.
because I could argue that I could dig a 5-foot wide, 18-inch hole with a metal bucket or a similar device. So we don't ban coolers so that we don't have glass bottles on the beach.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Analogy. Reasonable.
Yeah.
What's the pleasure of council in regards to this?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the revisions presented by Chief Plowmore for ordinance amendment number 95.06 metal shovels.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Moving on now to new business, discussion and approval of the fiscal year 25-26 budget calendar.
Mayor, if I can, we
Go
do
ahead.
have one correction, please. When Tara and I were preparing this budget calendar, we forgot about Good Friday and that the town is closed, and that is on the 18th. So we would request to move that to April the 11th, please.
That's the April 18th date?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to move it to the 11th, okay.
Has each member of council had a chance to look over this and check
I
the
have,
schedule?
yes.
Yeah, mine's good.
April 11th.
I know the April the 4th one, I will not be here. My grandbaby's birthday's there, and I will be gone out of town. So y'all can carry on without me there. That's just a workshop. But in regards to that, what's the pleasure of council in getting this thing scheduled?
Make a motion that we approve the FY 25-26 budget calendar as proposed here, with the change for April 11th.
I will not be able to make that.
Which one? The 11th?
April 11th. I'll see if I can change with the medical people.
Okay. But if not, that's another budget workshop. So
Okay.
we'll see how it goes, and we'll go from there. But right now, let's go ahead and schedule as was here with the April 11th. We got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on next, text amendment, section 335C, tree protection requirements. Mr. Satterfield, if you want to, you shouldn't have to go over a lot with this, but you'd just like to do a little brief right quick again, and then we'll get the council to vote. This is what the first public hearing was about tonight.
Yeah, don't have anything else to add except for the planning
Okay.
board did recommend approval and a consistency statement is required.
Okay.
Just as a comment, the ordinance we had, as hard as we worked at it when we revised the UDO on the planning board level a year and a half ago, we found ourselves trapped in a situation where people really could not build a house on their lot. And this is I think, a good solution. And I liked what the head of our Environmental Resource Committee commented on during public comments, that it really makes a good match between developing your own private lot and not making it unreasonable. But just to put a bow around this absolutely does not open up to clear cutting on subdivisions. This is individual lots owned by people.
Ron, can you just define for everybody here, granted mitigation credit?
Yeah, talking about the last part of that amendment there.
Yes.
Yes, sir. When a property is required to mitigate, so if a regulated tree or a heritage tree is removed, and again, the example I used earlier where 70 trees were removed, 70 inches of trees are required to be planted on the site. So the intent with that particular language is if there are existing trees on that site, anywhere on that site for those single family, 2-family homes that were not exempt otherwise, they get to count those trees they can count those trees to meet that mitigation requirement. So let's say they have 68 inches of trees on their property, then they won't have to plant 2 inches back, if that makes sense.
Close.
Okay.
I tried. I tried to use a good.
I understand. I know what it is. But I have questions. No, I know what it is.
What's the pleasure of council in regards to this?
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the text amendment to section 3.35C, tree protection requirements, with the following consistency statement. Town council hereby approves the proposed amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance and finds that it is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, as policy statements regarding trees tend to apply to residential subdivisions, multifamily developments, and non-residential developments, and that it is in the public interest because the amendment continues to protect trees and promote residential growth in accordance with the goals outlined in the 2017 land use plan.
Perfect.
Period.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Text amendment, section 324A, driveway connections. Again, Mr. Satterfield.
Again.
Brief.
Again, nothing to add, but planning board recommend approval and a consistency statement is required.
All right.
Mayor, a comment.
Go ahead.
One of our citizens brought up a very good point about there's a number of homes that have been designed, built, lived in for either a day or 25 years. And we're a beach community, so a lot of the homes on the island are raised homes. Most of them are. And the way they've set up their driveways, I've walked all of Main Street, I've walked all of Canal, and I've stood in front of each house, and I've said, if this was my house, where would I want my driveway? The attempt here is to grant authority specifically to the town administrator, so that in certain situations where somebody has built a home that is not a duplex, it's not a two-family, it's not two homes that are Siamese together, but the way they're structured, they've got really two individual driveways, that Ms. Anglin has the authority to approve that. And the way the ordinance was written prior to tonight, they didn't. They had a 20-foot driveway to figure out how they were going to make it work. And there's a number of situations where this would come into play. And I think this is an attempt by town staff. I think they did a very good wordsmanship job here, working with the planning board to resolve this.
Ron, I have a question, and it's come up, and although I don't answer all the emails I get, it does come up on occasion. Is this the same restrictions for the individual and duplex homes on the mainland?
No.
This particular section would apply only to the BR1, BR2, CR1, and the BB1 zoning district.
And what
They're
is
all
it?
island.
Island.
They're all
I
island.
know those all.
Okay.
My question is, I'm not saying if this applies to, I'm saying do the houses on the mainland have the same type of restriction?
I'd have
20
to look
foot.
I'd have to look at the code, to be honest with you.
No.
I don't believe so, but I'd have to look.
20-foot driveway, okay. They don't get the 210,
Any more questions?
okay.
Just a quick comment,
Go ahead.
following on to what Councilman Larkin was saying. Specifically written down in this change amendment addresses the comment that was made earlier. It said special site considerations may be individually considered by the UDO administrator. So that was considered because there's considerations all across the board in many of these cases. So, thank you.
All right. Nothing else? What's the pleasure of council in regards to this?
I'll make a motion to approve section 3.24A, driveway connections.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
Need a consistency.
Consistency statement.
Oh, go ahead.
Here I go.
You need it.
Read the back
He's
one,
going to read it.
Yeah,
back
go ahead.
page.
The town council hereby approves the proposed amendment to the United Development Ordinance and finds that it is neither consistent nor inconsistent with the town's comprehensive plan, 2017 Town of Sunset Beach Land Use Plan, as there are no specific policies pertaining to setback encroachments, and that, number two, that it is in the public interest.
You still on for the second, Mr. Fosler?
Yes,
All right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on now. Text amendment, section 7.3 definition of the height building structure. Mr. Satterfield, busy man.
Yes, sir. Again, this was recommended by your planning board, and a consistency statement is required.
Any questions, council?
And this is any building in the MUD
No.
district?
No.
All over town?
This applies to all buildings in town.
Except in the
Does
MUD.
not apply to hotels.
Not
in the MUD
hotels, but
district.
all over the
In
town?
the hotels in the Mud District.
Yes, yes. Got it.
Any more questions? Not, what's the pleasure of council?
If I can get to it, I'll read it.
Somebody else
I
turned to read.
would make a motion to approve. I'll read it.
Yeah.
The town council hereby approves the proposed amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance and finds that it is I, consistent with the town's comprehensive plan 2017 Town Sunset Beach Land Use Plan, as the amendment allows mechanical screening to be included in the building height calculation without increasing the actual height of the building. And two, that it is in the public interest because of the amendment encourages mechanical unit screening on all buildings in accordance with the goals outlined in the 2017 Land Use Plan.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, number 5, public hearing consideration, UDO text amendment, section 49C5, block length. Do you have anything for him on this one, Mr. Satterfield?
Just want to say this is to add a definition of block length to your code. In review by the planning board, they are recommending approval and requesting a public hearing be scheduled for your March 3rd meeting.
All right. Any questions from council? Not, what's the pleasure of council? In setting up a public hearing?
Make a
Make-
motion.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
Pete?
Make a motion. We set up a public hearing for block length definition in section in the UDO section 4.9C5 on March the 3rd.
Do I have a second? Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, public hearings consideration, UDO text amendment, section 7.3, definition of model homes.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Satterfield?
May have a minute, a little bit longer, a little bit more information to say on this one, but so what we're trying to do here is to provide a definition for a model home. The definition that is in your packet is word for word from a definition provided by the North Carolina General Assembly in its 2024 legislation. We're also going to amend the definition of a temporary real estate office as part of the proposal. We are going to create the standards for, or not create, but cause the standards for model homes and temporary real estate offices to be the same. So wherever a model home is allowed and in what manner is the same as temporary real estate office. And we're also going to correct the code references in the temporary use section. Planning board has recommended approval and requests a public hearing be scheduled for your meeting March 3rd.
This is very common to what you see in most other communities where they have the model home and the office inside there, so you can.
Yes, sir. And this is really more clarifying. It came up in a code cleanup we did. You may remember in the fall where we had little changes that were wrong code references. If this is a result of that, and after research, found like this was the easiest, best way to make the modification.
All right. Any more questions from council? Not, someone like to make a motion to set up this public hearing?
I'd like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing for Monday, March 3rd, 2027 at 7 p.m. in Town Hall Council Chambers to cover the UDO text amendment, section 7.3, definition of a model home.
Do I have a second? Second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Not need a planning director, you sure are a busy man, ain't you? Next up will be our disposition of directives.
Do we have the vehicle?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we do. We got that now. I'm sorry, Ken. Come on up and make that recommendation. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. We've been using GovDeals to surplus vehicles and different equipment, and we've done very well with that. But sometimes I think there's an opportunity for us to do some better, some greater good, if you will. The car in question that I want to talk about tonight is a 2017 Ford Explorer. We took it offline a couple of years ago as a police vehicle, and we've been using it as a volunteer patrol vehicle. Haven't really used the volunteer program much. A lot of the volunteers were hired for parking, the parking lot monitoring and things that we do for the summertime. So we really don't have a use for that car currently. All the police equipment has already been removed from it, and that equipment has been put into another vehicle. Assistant Chief Stan Gerganis reached out to Black Mountain up in western North Carolina just to see if anybody in the area had a need for a vehicle. And then we were contacted by the Chief Eaton of the Montreat Police Department. Montreat is a small community population of just over 700 people that is just north of Black Mountain and northeast of Asheville. If I could read into the record the response from Chief Eaton, which discusses the impact that they've had from Hurricane Helene and how a donation of this vehicle would help them. Their town hall was flooded, leading to extensive demo and renovation. 4 bridges in the town suffered significant damage. An additional bridge had to be demolished. We suffered numerous large sinkholes. Several hill slides slid away. Roadways were undermined, rippled, and buckled. Most have been temporarily repaired, but will eventually require repaving. Scores, if not into the hundreds of trees were downed and had to be cleared. Most of the expensive thus far has been renovation to town hall, grading, gravel, and stopgap repairs to the bridges. Monies from all over the budget had been reallocated to this effort. Donations have been exhausted and repairs have been paused because there is no funding to proceed. We are awaiting reimbursement for FEMA to resume repairs. We require permanent repairs to roadway and bridges. Several areas require ground nailing to repair slides. We incurred a significant amount of damage to infrastructure, bridges, and roadways from the storm. The PD did lose one vehicle, a 2014 Ford Interceptor. The remaining vehicles, which they have a total of 4, are also on their last legs, but due to a shift in financial resources to repair infrastructure, it is not possible to purchase any now. The town of Montreat is a very small retirement community that hosts a conference center and a college. Both entities are religiously affiliated nonprofits and therefore do not contribute to the tax base. This vehicle would be a God-sent blessing to us. I assure you, if your council would approve this transaction, it will be well used and appreciated. Please feel free to contact me if there's any questions. Chief Eaton of the Montreat Police Department. I'm asking the council for your permission to donate the 2017 Ford Explorer at no cost to the Montreat Police Department.
I don't think there should be any discussion on that. I think we'll make a motion in a second.
I'll be happy to make a motion.
Just as a point too, though, congratulations to your department for reaching out to them, seeing the need, and bringing it to us.
I have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we donate the vehicle to Montreat.
Second.
Any discussion, which it shouldn't be any other than thank you for bringing us to it.
Who's going to drive it up
Appreciate
there?
it.
I think the assistant chief and I are going to take it. For what it's worth, it has already been declared surplus, and estimate the value is around $3,000.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, disposition of directive.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On our disposition of our directives, our budget calendar, that's definitely on there. Now, that'll be Friday, will be our first one. While we are on that, Lisa, I think we need to go ahead and see about putting in a closed session there.
Okay.
You may not have known about that, but the council talked about it back there, and we needed to add that to that
Oh, that's right.
thing, please.
Okay.
At the end of the budget meeting.
All right. And I'd also like to add the House Bill 24, an act to restore the authority for local governments to initiate downzoning.
That'll be on Friday for our
Mhm.
budget hearing, correct? Along with the closed session. All right. Also, our ordinance to this parking and stuff has been moved to next month, March the 3rd. The block link public hearing will be looked to be scheduled on March the 3rd, and the model homes public hearing will be scheduled on March the 3rd. Anything else?
Resolution on this.
Oh, we're going to put a resolution from the, I've got to get this right, proclamation in support of the North Carolina Beach Inlet and Waterway Association, which will explain to everybody before March 3rd, but
March 3rd on that one too?
March 3rd on
Okay.
that one, yes.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
All righty. Nothing else. We'll go on to the public comments on anything. If anybody'd like to speak, please come forward.
Anything to do with the town?
Yeah, hi, this is Richard Dysinger, 704 Fairway Drive. I do want to add one more aspect to this parking consideration that we've been discussing today. I am concerned, the Surfcast application has a 1.5 rating on the Apple account, which is extremely low, with 82 reviews. And that signifies a lot of people are using it, reviewing it, and they're having problems. I know we've had some experience with this vendor. I've chatted with him. He's obviously very experienced in the field, but it does concern me that we probably need to do a road test in terms of how this app works. I've had some people reach out to me to indicate that the web application, which is what happens when you use the QR code rather than the app, works. But it appears that the app has some issues. Now, he has a secondary app called ParkCast, which is new and has only 2 reviews. I'm not sure if that's the one that will be adopted for the town, but I do want to bring this to your attention. With all the other things that we're dealing with, the parking consideration, it would be unfortunate that we solve those problems for the community's concerns and then wake up and find an app that provides a frustrating customer experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on anything to do with this town? Sir?
John Hobgood, Sunset Beach Trading Company. I just want to say, 423 Sunset Boulevard South. I just want to thank Claymore for his outreach on social media during the ice or snow event, as well as the town and Chief Childress for having a fire truck out on the island during all that. That was very smart and forward thinking. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Tom Weiss, 429 28th Street. Since we were talking about the app, I have a concern about the Auto Connect. I think what I've heard is that he will enforce all of the parking enforcement. I've been on the island since '96, and 911 unfortunately knows me very well when people are parking in our driveway. Will we no longer have to, which we should never have to call 911 to file a parking issue on an island? I mean, they got much more important things to do, but that is the way we were told to handle anything related to illegal parking on the island. So with Auto Connect, I thought I heard that there'll be people going around checking the meters or checking the plates. So will this finally take us from not having to report 911 when you have an illegal driveway position?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead. Hopefully.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
may I?
We ain't supposed to, y'all tell me, but if you want to, go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
Tom, there's a non-emergency number published now. When we were told to use 911, and I'm pretty sure I'm the one that told you that, it was when we changed over the communication system. And that was really the best way to get police service here. And can you provide the non-emergency number?
But Chief, don't you, I mean, it's tough for me to call 911.
You start off by saying this is a non-emergency call.
It's going to 911 dispatch. Excuse me?
I got your
Yeah.
time off. You still got your time. You good to go. Let them get all your stuff, see if they can help you there.
Yeah, to address the
Stay
question
right there,
for
sir.
folks on YouTube that heard this, I still recommend calling 911. It goes to the same building. It's answered by the same person. If you want to have a police officer respond to your home for anything, that is the quickest and most efficient way to do it.
Could you add add one thing in there. Auto Connect, when they're Surfcast, whatever the program is,
Mhm.
will be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You know, when Auto Connect's
Sure.
out there giving tickets.
Okay.
In the off season, the season is 1 April to October 31st. So before April and at the end and in November and the time in between, then it's the police that do the traffic.
Well, we're not
and
just going to
parking
hang up
monitoring.
our ticket book though from May 1 and from 8 to or 9 to 5.
Right.
Driveways, we've typically approached those complaint based because you might tell somebody to come to your house and say, well, there's already a couple cars there. When you come, just park parallel to everybody else. We're not going anywhere. So I don't want to drive by and put a ticket on that vehicle if he's asked his guests to park that way. So we handle them complaint based, and those complaints will come to the police department, not to Auto Connect. Does that answer your question?
Is
Does Auto Connect, will Auto Connect then place a ticket for someone that's in the bike path? It's going to be already a registered plate. So if it's registered, but their tires in the back bike path, they are able to enforce that with a ticket. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're going to have,
Thanks, sir.
they're going to have a good crew of people on the island during the high season, definitely. And they should make 5 to 6, 7 passes by your place every day. And so they ought to pick those things up. That's for sure. We're going to hope they do, and we're going to make sure that they do.
And you do realize that the tourists don't leave at 5 o'clock. They're there now till
absolutely.
sundown.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? If not, that will conclude our meeting. I just want to reach out to the citizens that's listening tonight. Please be careful. There's a lot of sickness going on in our town. A couple of different things going on. Wash your hands when you're out. Take care of each other. Watch out for your neighbors, and let's keep everybody safe. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Do I have a motion to close this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
No more discussion, guys, right?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming out.